All right, folks, I just got a package from Knife Santa here, and thanks to Wild Coast Camping Gear for just carrying Work Tough Gear knives, and lots of other cool stuff too. So yeah, let's open this package, see what's inside. And we'll open it with our Work Tough Gear Apache. Oops. All right. I think I gave away the surprise by accident there, but that's okay. Okay, folks. I think I spoiled it, but you can see there's a Work Tough Gear box inside there. Let's take a look and see what's inside. Alright, all kinds of fun goodies in there. Alright, what knife do we got here? Let's take a look. Looks like the Work Tough Gear Laguna, Mount Laguna. All right, let's go take a look at it in the little knife cave here, and we'll compare it to some other knives. Okay, folks, we're in the knife dungeon here. Pulled out all my knives for comparison, so you can see kind of the size comparison of the Mount Laguna. Let's just quickly go through and do a little bit of a comparison here. So there's the Cold Steel Pendleton Mini Hunter. That's only got about a 2.5 inch blade. This has got a 4-inch blade. Work Tough Gear Apache. That's got a 3.5 inch blade, but it's a much shorter knife overall. The handle's actually quite short, but it still fits in the hand nice, which is the nice part about that. Makes a good EDC. And then we've got the Work Tough Gear Asset here. Let's just put that down next to that. I'm just curious what it ends up being. It's actually quite a bit shorter for only having an inch less blade length than the Asset. The Asset's got a 5.1 inch blade length. This has a 4.0 inch blade length, I believe. It's got a very thick spine as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. There's a SE6. It's a lot smaller than that. Here's my Architect 6.5, probably my favorite knife at the moment. And this is probably my tie for favorite knife. The Tops Longhorn Bowie. It's almost like half the size. There's a Tops Tahoma, also an Epic knife. Yeah, that's about half that size. That's crazy. And then this is my Knives by Hand Frank Bowie. So let's take a look at this bad boy. So this is the Work Tough Gear Mount Laguna. It's made by I can't remember his actual name, but Wingman115, his channel on YouTube. He designed this knife, and Work Tough Gear manufactured it. It's an excellent design, in my opinion. It kind of seems to me, or like based on me kind of looking into the knife, seems like a good compromise between a hunting knife and a bushcraft knife. He actually did a really good job designing this. It's very interesting because I was, people said it was chunky. Okay, it took me a minute to figure out. Just wanted to compare the blade thicknesses of the Asset and this knife, and they're the same blade thickness. So that just shows you how robust this Mount Laguna is going to be, because this Asset, I think it's got the 3/16 blade thickness, which is a good thickness for a knife of this size. It's a good thickness for a knife of a lot of sizes. In fact, this Tahoma is also 3/16. But it's kind of interesting to have a knife this small with that robust of a blade thickness, especially with a good steel. I mean, you don't want any knife to have a good steel, but you know, this is a D2 steel done by Work Tough gear, so it's going to be heat treated to perfection essentially. It's going to be very durable. It's like a semi-stainless type of steel, so I'm curious to see how easily it rusts. My CPM 3V knife, the Architect 6.5 hasn't rusted at all, and I've been kind of mistreating it a bit just to see if it'll rust, but it hasn't yet. So we'll see how this one does. Very neat little knife here. Let's just do kind of like a view from butt to tip here. So you got a nice lanyard hole. It looks like it's chamfered, so your lanyard's not going to get caught in there. You've got a nice bow drill divot, which is kind of like a good thing to have in a knife handle. You know, if you're ever in a crazy survival situation and you got caught unprepared and all you've got is your knife on you, you can make a friction fire, or at least try to make a friction fire. Make it easier anyways, that way you don't have to make 2 divots to use. And then we've got a little pinch point up here for pinch grip. So you can get up nice high on the knife for doing small stuff. When you're processing game, it's the first thing I kind of think of when I look at this, but you could do a lot of things. You can use it to strike a fire steel. It gets kind of, allows your thumb to get a nice, good purchase on there, so you can push on your fire steel. And then we've got, you know, nice 90-degree spine. If you can hear that, it's nice and sharp. And then you've got a non-sharpened swedge, which is good for batoning. I could see you using this, especially with the thickness. It's going to be a very robust knife for batoning, just kindling around camp. In fact, I'm going to use it a lot probably for feather sticking and batoning, small kindling at home just for fires in our fireplace. So, yeah. Very nice. You got the little Wingman 115 logo there. And you can see it's K110 bowler, which is D2, type of D2 steel. And you got your Work Tough gear logo. So overall, a very nice blade design. I'll tell you what really sold me on this knife. I kind of thought it was a bushcraft knife at first. And then I did some research on it. And he actually designed it as a hunting knife, which is interesting because it's actually pretty thick for a hunting knife. But it's got a really big belly on the front, which is perfect for skinning game, essentially. And he also designed it so you can get nice and high up on this blade for gutting, and that way you can like guide the blade up here underneath the skin, the hide, so that you don't puncture any of the intestines or stomach or anything and spoil the meat, which is why that drop point works really nice up top there. And especially with it being unsharpened. So that's really handy. This is going to make an excellent skinning knife. I was skinning my moose this year, and I was thinking, man, I could really use a better knife with better steel. I just had this cheap processing kit that I was given for my birthday when I was a lot younger, and I had to sharpen it numerous times while I was processing the moose. And that's kind of what got me into looking into knives, and kind of got me back into knives a bit again. And by a bit, I mean way too much, because in 6 months I've bought more than 6 knives, so but that's okay. So yeah, it's a very nice knife. It's going to be very handy. That's what it looks like in the hand. Doesn't stick out much past your palm, which is what I like. I don't really care for handles, especially on a knife this small that sticks out past my palm. It's pretty pointless. If it's a bigger knife for chopping, I want it to have a long handle, but this one's going to be a more close-up work, small task knife. Yeah, so hopefully, I haven't rambled too much, but pretty excited about this knife. I'll probably carry it kind of like cross draw on my front left side. And when hiking and around camp and stuff. And maybe let's go see how it feather sticks real quick here. Alright folks, so we're going to do a little bit of batoning and then we'll do some feather sticking. So this is how I want to carry it. Just kind of like cross draw style, so that I can, easily just take it out. So yeah, that's probably the best way to carry this knife, I think. And I can put it on my backpack if I'm hiking if I want to, but it's better to have on your person. So let's do some playing around. Alright, so I figure why not give the knife a bit of a hard time here. And we'll baton what the knife can span on this bigger log now. All of this wood isn't seasoned yet, which makes it harder to split. So keep that in mind. It's all still quite moist. It's from a tree that got cut down this year. So you can see the knife can just barely span that. No choil helps for sure. So let's see how she does. Split that, no problem. So let's just baton this little piece here. Split right through it. It's probably because it's got such a, you're going, it's got a fair amount of angle, right? Because you're going to a 3/16 blade thickness probably here. So you got to get to that 3/16. By the time you get to the top of the saber grind, there's only maybe an inch or a little less than an inch there, so it's going to have a steep angle, which is great for batoning and chopping as well, typically, but you're not going to be chopping with this thing. Alright, let's take one of these and do a little bit of feather sticking. I also find this more moistly, as Justin Trudeau would say. I find this moist wood feather sticks really nicely, so it's probably going to feather stick pretty good, but we'll have to find the angle on this knife. Ooh, yeah, that's beautiful. Alright, so it's doing a fantastic job. Feather sticking. It's like going through it like butter. Wonderful. Look at that. That's wonderful. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's just about paper thin. I think I can do better for getting thin feathers. Yeah, I definitely can. No problem. Nice paper thin feathers. So, yeah, this thing's a feather sticking machine. Handles pretty good. When you have a blade this thick, it's always going to alter the way it handles a bit. But I find these thicker blades are better for woodwork. And then for like finer tasks like kitchen tasks like cutting stuff up, these thicker blades don't do as good of a job. Makes the cutting a little bit more messy and just a little more difficult. Doesn't feel like natural or comfortable for the knife to do, but in camp it'll definitely cut up stuff and vegetables, meat, whatever. It's just you're gonna have to push a little bit. It's not just gonna slice through real easy. I don't think I can really show that. It's just something that you feel when you cut. But yeah, and let's just go talk about this knife a little bit more, and what my first impressions are of how it's doing. Well, I do quite like this knife. It's kind of like a do-it-all little knife. Like it's something that you can be really rough on without worrying about it breaking. It's going to do some fine tasks okay. I don't think it'll do a lot of fine tasks well. When it comes to skinning and processing game, it'll be interesting to see how this knife does, but I know Wingman 115 primarily designed it as a hunting and fishing knife, so I'm very curious how it'll do with that. We'll find out next year, next hunting season for me. Maybe we'll process some fish with it too. But so far, as a kind of like a small bushcraft, small survival knife, small camp knife, I think it'll do really well. For something like this, for camping season, I imagine its role being the knife I just have on my person all the time walking around camp. I can walk around campgrounds with this knife without scaring all the Karens to death like I would probably with my AK 6.5, although I probably just do that anyway just to, I don't know, I just like to disturb poop sometimes. But yeah, just a nice little knife you can carry around, kind of like a companion knife. Just and you can do food prep with it. You can prepare kindling for the fire. You could baton, wood that this knife can span. I think no problem. I don't think that goes without question. So it's kind of like a mini survival knife too. You could bring this on hikes, especially if I was going to go backpacking and I wanted to be relatively lightweight and compact. I mean, this thing is not lightweight. It feels fairly hefty. I don't remember what the weight is on this. I think it's 8 ounces or something like that without the sheath, which is pretty heavy for a little knife like this. But I mean, that's half a pound, so not that big of a deal. But I probably would take this with me backpacking just as like a little miniature survival knife. In hunting season, if you're fishing, use it to process fishing game with. That same night after it's skinned a moose, if you got any energy left after that and you had buddies to help you, then you can use it to process firewood to have a fire at the end of the day. So it's kind of a neat design. Something I did forget to talk about was this finger choil up front. I know a lot of people say it's a bit small. I don't have big hands. I have like medium to large size hands. Usually when I buy gloves, they're usually medium. Sometimes they're large, just depends. So I'm kind of like in between maybe. But it fits my index finger just fine in that little choil, although it barely fits in there, I would say. But I wouldn't have any trouble stabbing with this and think my hand's going to slide forward regardless. I think I was kind of watching a video he made about this knife, and he kind of intended it more to kind of choke up and hold like this when you're processing game, and you can put your middle finger, or depending on whatever's comfortable for you, put a finger in there and it won't slip up onto the blade, and you can kind of process your game and do some stuff with it, some small, really, really small, fine tasks with it. And it's actually very comfortable to hold this way, by the way. So that's kind of a neat design feature that he put into the knife. The choil was less for like when you're holding and more for that, I think, when he designed it. But it fits my hand very well. The knife does. So, yeah, I'm really curious to see how this knife does. I'm undecided on whether I like it more than my Work Tough Gear Clapachi as far as a companion knife for in the woods. I think I would take this over it, to be honest with you. The Clapachi is a really good EDC knife, though. It's just nice and thin. You can cut vegetables with it. You can cut cardboard, all that kind of stuff. And it's also small enough that fits in your pocket well. This one, I don't know how well it's going to fit in your pocket. Maybe we'll test that on another video, on a short or something maybe. But the way I plan on carrying it's like I showed you, just on my belt. So hope you enjoyed this first impressions video, and I hope to do some more stuff in the future with this knife. Okay, so when I said I was done, I kind of lied. I kind of want to see how this thing throws because it's just so thick. I don't think I could damage it if I wanted to. Gotta go somewhere where my dog's not gonna get hit by this thing. Okay, watch out, bud. He just likes being near me. Let's see how she throws. Yeah, pretty damn good. I mean, it's a heavy little knife, so I kind of thought it might throw pretty good. Oh. Right into the snow. Let's see if we cut ourselves trying to get this knife. Almost. And let's just do a couple stump tosses here. No problem. Oh yeah, she's way in there. Thing's solid. Dude, I love how solid this knife is. It's not even flexing in the least when I throw it. That's crazy. Nice. Yeah, this is a good throwing knife. You couldn't damage this thing if you tried. Let's try throwing it from a bigger distance here. I'll try to keep the camera on the stump. It's hard to throw a knife in, keep a camera oriented correctly. Yeah, nice. Oh, I wonder if I got that on camera. I had to concentrate on throwing. That was probably about 8 to 10 feet back. It was a good throw, if I may say so myself. All right. Barely, so this could be a little bit difficult, but why not? We're already here. Slowly making progress here. Bit of a big task for a little knife like this. Try to get through a log that's basically spans the whole blade. So this is almost probably a 4-inch diameter log. Don't get much force with every hit on the tip. Alright, made it through. No damage whatsoever after all that beating. Alright, so let's have kind of a discussion. Now that I've beat the heck out of this knife and played around with it, I kind of want to talk about my impressions of this knife now. Now that I've used it a bit. Frankly, it's just really awesome. It is a small knife, 4-inch blade, so that limits what you can do with it as far as batoning goes, especially. But this thing's practically a sharpened pry bar. I mean, and it gives you so much confidence in just beating the living hell out of this thing. and I just beat this thing up going through some really apparently really tough wood I have. Like my Architect knives 6.5 had a lot of issue getting through this wood. And I guess it's just this pine tree that I brought home. It's just full of knots and stuff. I'm not really sure what it is. And the wood twists at a really quick angle as well, the grain twists. So I think it creates a lot of friction and makes it difficult to get through. And, after, I don't know how long it took me, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I managed to get through a piece of it. But the knife did it, and it didn't break. And I beat the crap out of the handle and everything, and it looks brand spanking new. Beat the crap out of the tip, looks brand spanking new. And blade looks good and everything. So yeah, I have no doubt this knife will serve me well and last me a lifetime. I'll be able to pass this down to my children and possibly down to the grandchildren someday. So I'm very impressed with this knife. If you want a knife with a good belly on it, if you appreciate a knife with a good belly, I think this is a good knife to get. If you like bushcrafting or like little handy knives, this is a good knife to get. And if you like a good size for processing all different sizes of game, from, rabbits all the way up to a moose, this is a good size of blade to have. A 4-inch blade will do a lot for you. And I think that belly is going to make a big difference as well. So it's just a really good all-around knife. I'm very, very impressed by this knife, and I'm really glad I bought it. I kind of overlooked it at first. I'd seen it, but I just kind of went, another bushcrafting knife. But that's not just what this can do. This is a really well-designed knife. So, props to the designer, and props to Work Tuff Gear for making knives with amazing fit and finish, and tough as hell with their, they get high quality steel from Japan, and they heat treat it to perfection essentially. So good job everybody. What a wonderful knife, and thank you.